morning, everyone, and welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word. Today is Wednesday, August 25th of the year 2021. You can see I'm out on my porch again this morning doing our daily word. It is a hot, humid morning already. There's a nice breeze. Yesterday, I was able to be out here. I think I worked out here until about noon yesterday. I'm not sure I'm going to make it today that long. It's already pretty warm out here, but glad you could join me for our few minutes together as we think about our daily word and what it means for us and how we then seek to apply it to our daily lives, which I think is, always the trick of Scripture. And one of the things that we try to learn about Scripture is how that we try to take these ancient words that were written all these years ago and then apply them to our lives and how we make them work in the midst of our lives. And so we try to do that daily. Today's day number 344 of doing that. And I hope that, once in a while we've found ways to have this work in our life and that it's made a difference for us. And that, it just helps us guide us in our thinking, in our thoughts before we take an action. So that's really my hope in all of this, is that that's how it works for us. And just a little bit of a nugget of something that works in the midst of our lives. And so I chose the scripture for this morning from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 10. And Paul writes these words: "We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be made visible in our bodies." So I got to thinking about this particular scripture and how it applies to us. So last night, I had a really good day yesterday, pain-wise and mobility-wise, and then late last night, I got this strange pain. And it's not all the way gone today. I don't know what it's coming from. It's clear at the top of my knee. It could be my kneecap trying to find its way back to where it's supposed to be. But I spent many hours last night trying to figure out how to get comfortable and trying to get some sleep. And, it's you find a way to manage it. You try to sleep through it. You all know how that works. And then earlier this morning, I learned the death of a young person. She's young compared to me. I've probably known her most of her life, a long portion of her life. And she was in youth group with us. She spent a lot of time with us. And then life and the insidious nature of other things in life took over her life. And she spent a lot of time in and out of treatment centers and then a cancer diagnosis and all these things. And and you wonder about, I grieve her life for this morning, honestly. And you wonder about all of that loss that she endured in her life by the insidious nature of drugs and how all that, plays a part. So the scripture kind of jumped out at me because you and I, we deal with these things in our lives. We deal with difficulties, we deal with death, we deal with pain and, surgeries and joint replacements and all of those things. We struggle. We struggle with what those things are like and how they impact us. And and how they I don't know what I want to say, how they make it difficult for us. Good morning. Good. You want to be on camera?
No, I was going to try to sneak out.
Get my mail delivered today. He didn't want to be on camera though. Chicken. Thank you.
No problem.
Have a good day.
You do the same.
so this scripture applies, and it applies to the young person whose death I'm grieving. Um, and Paul kinds of writes these words to us in a bit of a defiance about these things that happen to us. Hear what it says: we're afflicted, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. We know in our lives and in our bodies affliction, perplexity, persecution. We know what it means to be laid low. We know what it means to struggle. We know what it means, like me, to grieve the death of someone whose life has gone too soon and whose life has been just such a struggle. And in all these things, Paul says to us, look, it'd be easy for us to give up. We're afflicted, we're perplexed, we're persecuted, we're struck down. We could just give up. But there is that keen word there that you all know that I struggle with, that word but. And it's used in such an appropriate way in this text for us this morning. We're afflicted, but not crushed. The but says the afflicted part is negated. Perplexed, but not driven to despair. Perplexion. We're not perplexed to the point where it drives us crazy. We're not persecuted, but not. The persecuted part is taken away, struck down, but not destroyed. You see, we understand this ringing note of defiance in the scripture, and it rings through us. And I know that death comes too soon sometimes, and I know what it means to grieve the death, as I'm grieving this morning, of this young person. And I know what it means to live in pain. My goodness, I've had my share of it, and I know that before I get through all this, and even after the fact, when I think I'm through it all, pain's going to come. I'm going to have hard nights like I did last night. The good news is it's a new day. The good news is I go to therapy this afternoon, and the girls will help me, and they'll give me some ideas about what to do when it happens again. Paul says to us, we have all these things, but we carry in us the body of the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus will be made visible in our bodies. In this act of defiance in our world, when we could easily get perplexed by all the things going on, things personally, the pandemic, the rising Delta variant cases, the list goes on and on. We can get caught up in all of that. But the scripture says to us that each phrase that we read in this text is like, no, wait a minute. Resurrection defies all of this. And we carry in us the body of Jesus. And one way or the other, we're all persecuted, perplexed, driven to despair. But it brings our life of Christ, this idea that we live as disciples of Christ, of the risen Christ, into this sharper resolution. For us, for the young person's life who I'm grieving, who indeed was afflicted in lots of ways, there is this idea of resurrection that happens, and it's a defiance of all the things that go around us. And so for today's word, I pray that, wherever we find ourselves in the midst of despair, pain, being perplexed, unsure of the future, wishing we could just figure it out, that we would know that we're not crushed, we're not driven to despair, we're not forsaken, we're not destroyed, because Paul says to us of the resurrection of the body that's made visible in us. And friends, I hope that's good news for you as it is for me. I'm still struggling this morning. The pain is pretty powerful in my leg. Hoping that I took some medicine, and then when I'm done here, I'm going to get some ice, hoping that helps my cause. But I know that it's temporary, and that life, and through the power of the resurrection, we find new hope in a new day. So I pray this is good news for you, good news for me as we live our lives today. So know God's love. Keep cool today. Know of God's love that surrounds all of us in mercy and grace. Know of my love for all of you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.